Hey, good morning, everybody. It's been a minute since I made a video. Let me apologize for that first. Oh, excuse me. So, work all of a sudden got really hectic. Um, the last the last couple of years of my job, they've been running lean on the budget, I guess. So the overtime has been very thin. To be honest with you, there's been very little, if any, um, and mostly during the case of emergencies, whether it's massive snowstorms or something like that. So it's everybody's running on the thinnest budget, myself included. So this week, well, actually, the last 3 weeks, let me cross the street. They got some guys doing some landscaping here. I don't want to blast your ears out with that. The last 3 weeks or so, the overtime has picked back up. So I'm grabbing obviously as much as humanly possible. I don't know if you can tell by the bags under my eyes, but I'm burning the candle literally at both ends. One, because, well, it's available and I don't like to leave money on the table. And two, like everybody else right now, we're recognizing how expensive everything's getting. And things are not getting easy. So if the money's there to grab, you're going to grab it. Aside from that, a friend of mine needed a chauffeur to go, not a chauffeur, but somebody to drive him and a few of his buddies to a wedding they were invited to. They wanted to drink a little bit and enjoy the day, and then not have to worry about, being responsible, not have to worry about drinking and driving on the way back. So that was last Saturday. So, like that particular Saturday, I worked all night, got home at like 8 o'clock, ate breakfast, jumped in the shower, got my outfit ready, went and picked up my son, and off to drive till about midnight last night. So, as you can imagine, I'm not getting a whole hell of a lot of sleep. That being said, I'm carnivore. You know what I mean? For those of you who are busy, who are running, burning the candle at both ends, this diet is a godsend. Like I said, I got the day before the wedding, I probably slept until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, from about 11, if that early, maybe 12. I got 3 or 4 hours sleep is the bottom line. Went to work, came home, got no sleep, jumped in the car, drove my friend to the wedding. I had time to come back home. I sat at my house. I probably took about an hour nap, and then back to the wedding to pick him up. We stopped and went out to dinner and stuff like that while we were waiting, because it's 4 or 5 hours in between. So picked him up at like midnight. I was home by like 1:30, and then I guess because of carnivore, I was up at 8 o'clock in the morning again. So I just don't need as much sleep, I guess, is the moral of that story. But that's really what my days have been. Volunteering for overtime, volunteering for any side work I can get my hands on, and staying focused on my job. Doing my normal 40 hours, which actually with my life is more like 70 or 75 hours, because it takes me, I leave my house about 6:15 at night. I don't get to work until 9. I don't start until 10. And I don't get home on a regular day. I don't get home till 8:30. On a Saturday, I don't get home till 9 o'clock. And I usually pick up my son on Saturday, so I don't really get home till 10 or 11. So as you can imagine, I run a pretty hectic schedule. But like I said, in years gone by, before I started eating carnivore, when I was doing what everybody considers the standard American diet, this would have been, let's be realistic, it would have been impossible. I wouldn't have had the energy. I wouldn't have had I wouldn't have had the urge to volunteer. I would have did everything I needed to do in my family life, because that's just who I am. But going the extra mile, picking up overtime, picking up side gigs, doing whatever I can to make my family a little more comfortable, that just wasn't going to happen. For any people who are stumbling across this video that's still just thinking about doing carnivore, the change is dramatic. If you're low on energy, you just don't feel good. Maybe you got some weight to lose. Maybe you have a significant amount of weight to lose. Maybe you have aches and pains and body aches. There's all different levels to this carnivore. I mean, carnivore itself is very specific, but you can kind of play with it to fit the needs that you're trying to reach. If you're a person who doesn't have any body pain, doesn't feel any inflammation, doesn't have any body soreness, you don't have to go to the level I went to. You don't have to cut out the seed oils. Is it better for you to cut them out? Absolutely. Are you going to feel better if you cut them out? Absolutely. But if you don't have an issue with the way you feel right now, it's not a level you need to go to. If you're you only have a few pounds to lose, you're not concerned about your longevity, you're not concerned about overall being 100% healthy. If you just want to lose a few pounds, feel a little better, and maybe be a little more effective at work, a little more effective at the gym, you can go carnivore. Still eat some vegetables. Me personally, I spent too many years sick, too many years in pain, and too many years unable to do the things I love to do. And like I say all the time, I work a physical job. My job is from the second we start work until the second we finish. It's either very hot, very cold, very heavy, very wet. So my body is taking some abuse, And day to day, my pain was significant. So I needed to get rid of my inflammation. It wasn't a maybe. If it was a possibility to do it, I needed to do it. So I went the extreme route. I leaned more towards the lion. Now, the difference between carnivore and lion diet is strictly red meat, water and salt. And you cook with butter. I really don't cook with butter anymore. I use such fatty ground beef, and I get the pan nice and hot before I throw it in, that it creates its own fat, its own tallow, I should say. But I will have some eggs. I don't do it every day. I probably don't even do it every week. Maybe once a month, or sometimes I'll skip a few months. And if I'm in a situation, like I went to friends' house and I know they got the movies and snacks and all kinds of goodies, I'll grab some pork rinds, or some people know them as chicharron, and I'll eat those. But like I said, you don't have to go to the extreme I went to. You can have chicken, you can have fish, you can have eggs, you can have shrimp and all these other types of stuff, crab. You want to definitely make sure you're getting enough fat, because some of the cuts of meat that I mentioned, or some varieties of the cuts of meat, don't have the fat that you need. So that's a big thing you need to look at. But I don't realize it sometimes, but my body's calling for a lot of energy. Like I said, I have about a 3-hour commute to get to work, and probably 2.5-hour commute to get home, and I work an 8-hour day. It's probably a little more than that, but anyway, I have some familiar responsibilities, as I'm sure all of you do. I have a 19-year-old son that calls on me regularly for different things, whether it's rides or help with something or to fix something. I have a girlfriend that we got to run the house together, run the household. So there's housework that needs to be done, there's things that need to be fixed. And then, like I said, I run a 70 or 75-hour work week if I don't do a drop of overtime, if I don't volunteer for any side work, or try to help out a buddy with something. I run a very, very long week. But the one thing I've definitely noticed is the energy is not only plentiful, it's on demand. Now, that's not to say I don't look tired. I could see the bags under my eyes, you know what I mean? And I am tired, I'm legitimately tired. But I'm legitimately tired because I'm legitimately running a crazy schedule. Here's the difference. When I'm tired, off carnivore, when I was eating whatever, probably worse than most people, but I was eating what everybody else ate. when I was tired, the idea of doing something while I was tired was out of the question. I didn't have the energy. I couldn't get off the. I mean, I could get off the couch, but everything was a struggle. You know, I'm not sure. Let me see if I can see what time it is. It's 9:30 in the morning. I've been up since about 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. You guys can do the math. I'm not going to stop and try to figure that out in my head real quick. But I've been up for a significant amount of time. I'm tired. You know, I came home. I ate until my belly was full, so I'm a little weighed down. I'm not bloated because carnivore doesn't do that to you, but you know, I feel the heaviness. And I don't know if you can tell by the video, I'm out walking. You know, if I ate like I just ate, if I ate the way I used to eat when I came home from work, with the breads and the popcorn and the candies and the bowls of cereal or whatever it was I was eating, I would eat and I would be locked to that couch for the rest of the day. There'd be no moving. And I would eat more sugar, hopefully get more energy, and it would cause the exact opposite response. I would just be shot. So, you know, beyond the energy, you know, my house life, I have more time with my girlfriend because I'm not coming home, eating, passing out until it's time to go back to work. You know, I wish she was walking with me. She's a little under the weather today. Not sick or anything like that. Nothing to worry about. She's just going through some female stuff. So she's taking it easy today. You know, but you know, she could. I wish she was out here because she could attest to the fact that my ability to perform in life is 100 times better than it was. I had no energy, no ability to stay awake. My eating habits were completely out of control. I was 60 or 70 pounds heavier than I am right now, and I felt horrible. I was in pain. You know, I couldn't just go into the supermarket. She told me this about a year or so ago. It was just a pleasure to go to the supermarket with me now, because I would get to the supermarket and I would be so inflamed. My back would hurt so bad, and I was so tired that I was just a miserable guy. You know, and I remember being like, I just want to go home. Can we finish and just go home? I'm tired. My back hurts. I'm this. I'm that. I remember saying those things and just thinking, why doesn't she understand that I'm, you know, 48 years old or 47 years old? I just don't. I've abused my body my whole life. I just don't have it anymore. And being upset with her for not understanding. Meanwhile, the fix was in my hand. I just had to find home. So back to what I started saying. Take a hard look at yourself. What would you like to change? Is your health what you want it to be? Is your fitness level what you want it to be? Is your weight what you want it to be? Now, I'll be honest with you. In my opinion, carnivore is not a strictly weight loss diet. If you want to just lose weight, there's easier ways to do it. There's less restrictive ways to do it. I don't personally find this diet restrictive. I enjoy the red meat. I enjoy what I eat. I've gone the most restrictive way there is as far as just eating red meat. But like I said, you could do a slim fast or, you know, any of these other diets where you get a little variety. You could do low fat. I don't recommend them, but there are ways to lose weight that are simpler as far as how much different variety of food you can eat. For me, I think everybody should be eating carnivore, but your reason for doing it has to be strong. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself probably miserable. Not because you're not seeing the benefits, not because you're not feeling good, because you don't have to go to that extreme. You know, if you work 10 miles from your house and you own a car, are you walking to work? No, you're not walking to work. Let's be realistic. You're getting in your car, you're going to drive to work, because why put yourself through the 10-mile walk if you could do a 10-minute drive? So that's how my look on carnivore. Carnivore, although it's a very effective weight loss, and there are 1,000 other benefits and reasons to do it, the people that I've seen that do it just for weight loss usually aren't successful, because it's just too much to give up for the 20 pounds that they wanted to lose, or 30 pounds. And I tell them, you're going to lose that weight fast, you know? You're going to lose it the first month, and then you just figure out what you want to do from there, you know? But you don't necessarily have to change your diet. Honestly, it's the only diet I've ever dealt with where my body lost the weight and it settled in at, a healthy weight. Am I ripped? No. I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm not winning any swimsuit competitions. I don't have six-pack abs. I still got a little body fat. But I'm still on carnivore. But my body pretty much settled there at 200 pounds. At this point, I got to do the work, which is why I'm out walking, which is I'm trying to run. Which is why I'm starting to get into weightlifting. I'm looking into different home exercises. I'm for those of you who heard me talk about this a bunch of times, I'm somebody who has to process everything. Everything's got to run around in my head. I don't like to do things that I can't commit to all the way. So I'll talk about them a lot before I do them. Sometimes it'll be weeks, days, months, sometimes even years. It took me years to start carnivore. As sick and as unhealthy as I was, I had to make it make sense to me. And once it made sense, it was a no-brainer. I could just do it. So it's becoming a beautiful day, which I didn't expect. It was like 59 degrees when I came home this morning, so I put on a sweatshirt. So I'm a little hot, and like I said, I'm running a long schedule. I'm a little tired. So I think that's it for my walk today. Look, I'm not trying to be a super athlete. I'm just trying to be better than I was yesterday. For you, better than you were yesterday might mean a walk to the mailbox, or a walk around your house. Walk through the rooms. You get tired, there's always a chair or a bed or a couch somewhere in the house you could sit, take a breath, and then finish your walk. The trick is to do something different today that you didn't do yesterday. For me, it's pushing a little harder because I am exhausted. For you, it might be pushing a little harder because, you haven't moved much the last couple of years, or several years, or decades for that matter. But that's my story. I know you guys haven't seen me in a while. I hope this video kind of explains why. I do have some very loyal subscribers, and I love you guys for watching the videos and for commenting and subscribing. I really appreciate it. There's no money in this for me right now, and I don't know that there ever will be. This is just for my own peace of mind and for the few people that are enjoying the videos. Alright, y'all. This is a little longer video than I've been putting out lately. I hope you guys made it to this point. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, comment. Tell me what you think of my opinions. Tell me what you think of my style of dieting. Tell me where you are, what you're up to. I pretty much respond to all my all the people who comment at this point, whether it's by liking your comment or actually having something to say about it. The channel is small enough right now that I am capable of doing that. So if you'd like to hear from me, by all means, leave a comment in the bottom. I'd love to hear your story, or how you feel about what I'm doing. But that's it for now, guys. I'm going to get some rest. I am wiped out. I'm going to go watch a movie with my girlfriend. I'll probably end up falling asleep during the movie just because of the length of the week that it's been. And I'll get up early enough to maybe hang out with her a little bit more later. Alright, y'all. Have a great day. Be better than you were yesterday, and stay healthy.